The Running Man has been one of my most anticipated releases of the year. I absolutely adore Edgar Wright. The Cornetto trilogy remains hilarious to this day. Scott Pilgrim was highly influential to me when I was 13. As someone who used to make movie music edits, Baby Driver is a movie that was basically engineered to appeal to me. And Last Night in Soho exists. It's a movie that I watched. And I also love Glenn Powell. I think he's one of the most promising rising stars at the moment. Phenomenal in Hitman, and even when he's in a mediocre or downright shitty movie, he has enough charisma to improve it quite a bit. I absolutely buy him as the new Tom Cruise. I will say, going into this, I was a little worried. The reviews were not ideal, but I can officially say that Edgar Wright remains on top. Mostly. Yeah, I wouldn't really put this on the top of my Edgar Wright ranking. It is massively missing the sauce. I have no idea why this wasn't stylized at all, but apart from some fun transitions and the use of licensed music, there's not a single ounce of this movie that feels like him. At least with Last Night in Soho, it was a genre he hadn't previously explored and he was trying something new, but he's made action movies before, so I really can't excuse it here. This has no right being as plain as it is. And not to mention, the script is really not it. Like, on a thematic level, I am getting so sick of Eat the Rich movies that don't have anything to add to the conversation. This is very surface level criticism, and the worst scenes in the movie are when characters are just explaining capitalism to each other. There's some interesting elements to it, like I think the propaganda stuff is actually quite cool, but for the most part there's just another shallow addition to a pretty overstuffed genre of movie. On a textual story level, I also found it to be pretty lacking. The dialogue is very uncreative and obvious, and everything building up with the start of the tournament, it felt generic and rushed. There's one-liners in here that felt insanely out of character for Wright. In the third act, there's a moment where the protagonist is going through basically a full-blown emotional breakdown, and then right after he says a corny one-liner. The script overall felt weirdly amateurish, especially considering that basically every character is one-note and predictable. Wow, it sounds like this movie sucks ass. Nah, I had so much fun, bro. Once the game starts, it remains an insanely fun thrill ride for basically the entire second act. While I think a lot of the one-liners are lame, I would say overall the movie is pretty funny, and the action's great. I think I prefer the more stealthy action scenes when the main character has to evade the enemies rather than full-blown fighting them, but the fight scenes are also not half bad, and I think the concept just kinda carries. The one thing I'll give the script is that the world building is amazing. I'm someone who can get a little too into the logistics of a game like this, and I think they crafted it pretty phenomenally. There's a lot of disguising and sneaking around and finding creative plans in this movie, and I ate the fuck up. Everything is thought through and well exposited. I also think it looks pretty great, aside from one car chase towards the end which looked horrendous. The production design and visual effects and overall color grade of this was consistently good looking whilst fitting the context of the film. I dig the dystopian but futuristic aesthetic. The performances are another highlight. This is basically Glenn Powell's Edge of Tomorrow, where the script is basically just a placeholder while waiting for the action to happen, but he does bring enough personality to make me care for him. I thought Josh Brolin was a pretty boring typecast, but a boring Josh Brolin performance is still a good performance. I'd say this is maybe one of Michael Cera's weaker roles, but the standout is for sure Coleman Domingo, who is eating this the fuck up. The comparisons to the Hunger Games is pretty easy, but I do think he is as good as this character as Stanley Tucci was in the Hunger Games. I'll say that I'm not really sold on the third act. I found this to be a consistent problem in Edgar Wright's filmography, actually. While the Cornetto trilogy remains mostly unharmed, Scott Pilgrim kind of fumbles its themes during the ending, Baby Driver just kind of throws it at the wall to see what sticks, and Last Night in Soho's ending brings the entire movie's score an entire point down for me. Whilst I wouldn't say this is anywhere near as severe, I think the ending here suffers from heavily including who is by far the weakest character so prominently, as well as just kind of being a bit much for me. Like I said, I think the movie kind of excels at the more grounded, sneaking stuff. A full-blown action set piece is fun, but just kind of exhausting after a while. Just kind of felt like the movie was bullshitting its way into an ending. But yeah, that's kind of it. This is a fun time, and I like getting new Edgar Wright releases, although if the next one isn't stylized, I think I will cry. It's like a 7.5 out of 10, but that's tacky, and I don't pull out the half numbers unless I really don't know what to do. And this is a good enough movie where I think I can justify giving it an 8 out of 10.